What a great interview we just had. Now, we move forward with technology in hospitality. Let's take the robot out of the human, ladies and gentlemen. What does this mean for our industry? In the next panel, Professor Dr. Alexander Schmidt, a valued colleague from Hotelschool, The Hague, will guide us through this question. And he has brought together some practitioners and academics to share their insights on this exciting, yet very challenging topic. I cannot wait to hear more. Alexander, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone to this session this afternoon. Welcome to Let's Take the Robot Out of the Human. What a great title we put together. And it's not only the title, but it's also the lineup that is really exceptional this afternoon. We have an exciting lineup of panelists, but to kick off this session, we thought we need to have some inspiring futurist thinker to inspire us a bit and to spark some ideas, spark some insights. And I'm very happy to introduce you to one of the disruptive futures thinkers that we have in the industry. He worked for Visit Scotland. He worked for the Asian Development Bank. He wrote over 20 books on the future of hospitality and tourism. He is one of the top 100 scientists that we have in hospitality and tourism, and he's a very valued colleague of mine working in the Netherlands, in Friesland, in the north of the country. He is the expert on the future of work and the future of hospitality, and I'm very happy to introduce you to Professor Ian Yeoman to give us a short introduction. Thanks again.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hey.
Right, you're all alive. You're not a robot. I'm glad. So I'm just going to talk about this. So let's take the robot out of the human. And right to the question I'm going to start with is technology a substitute for labor supply? Because there's no right or wrong answer, because it's about different degrees of labor substitution. And it's the relationship between hospitality, people, and the robot. So I believe in fantasy, I believe in science fiction. I believe if somebody says to you, it won't happen, it will happen. Because the foundation of scenario planning and future studies is skepticism. If it's not going to happen, it will happen in the terms of that. So right at the heart of this relationship is this word, manakitanga, which is the Maori word for hospitality. And hospitality, about generosity, care, and relationship, if you look to indigenous populations, is at the heart of what we do. Nobody goes on holiday to see a robot. Nobody out there wants to marry a robot. Well, there's probably one or two of us that will do that. But we're in an industry which is about you and people. So any relationship with technology has got to be at the point it doesn't take away that hospitality, that greeting. Because when I go on holiday, I want to speak to a person. And I want to be with real people. And I get more out of holidays, talking to waiters or bar people or anybody in the services industry. It's about the stories they tell and how helpful they are. I always, because I'm dyslexic, I always forget long words. So that word is really important, and it's something that you should hold. Anyway, I spent a considerable amount of my time in New Zealand. I'm a New Zealand citizen. And just before I was appointed to NHL Stendon, we undertook some work for the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, which asked that question. What would be the degree of labour substitution from a technology perspective? Could we use technology to replace labour? So all of that research is published in the current issues of Tourism. It's an open access paper. But the issues we faced in New Zealand are the similar issues you face anywhere else in the world. We face a problem where working in hospitality and tourism is not seen as a career, but it's a job. It's high labor turnover. It's high levels of casualization, skill shortage, and it's fundamentally an industry of migrants, people from somewhere else that serve in your industry. But as that labor supply of young people fundamentally becomes tighter, it becomes a lot more harder, because those that work in the hospitality industry could probably get better pays and conditions working in retail or healthcare or agriculture in the terms of those industries. So you're competing for wages and cost with those industries, and a smaller pool. So let's start. I believe in science fiction. So the last speaker that was on the stage said robots will never happen. So it will happen. So the starting point was Dyson. And Dyson said, within 5 years, we will all have an iRobot or a home servant. So this is a very short video of what they're saying.
It is very exciting. I'm not sure there are that many people doing this sort of stuff we're doing out there in the world. So this hangar over here, this hangar 86, is completely full of engineers working on wearables. In this building, we're focused on robotics. There's a big future in robotics. It's saving people time, performing chores for people, and improving people's daily lives. I'm a parent. I spent half my life cleaning up after my kids, and it's pretty tedious. We've been working for about 20 years now on floor care robots, which are puck format robots, and ours really do vacuum, by the way. But aside to that, we've also been doing a lot of research into robotics, which no one's aware of. So for the last 10 years, we've been sponsoring the Imperial College. So actually the work that's going on in these PhDs is ripe right now. So we're setting up a robotics. Okay, so that video goes on longer, but I'm not here to promote Dyson. What I'm trying to say is it's that point in the future where that robot comes true. And it's like your mobile phone. It comes to the point in the future of convergence. Because once upon a time before we had that point of convergence with the mobile phone, you used to have a filofax. Well, you're probably all too young for that. You had money. You used to have a pocket calculator. You used to have car maps in your car. But you got to the point of convergence where everything happens through the mobile phone. So we've got all of these brilliant scientists in the world's leading brains, trying to deliver that iRobot for you. So it's the relationship between humanity and human labor and the advancement of science, that iRobot concept, or what I call technological singularity. So the New Zealand government asked us to explore that. They asked us to explore this relationship between human and people, and how far could we go. And the point of the scenarios was to think about the future, rather than deliver an answer. So we did 4 scenarios. So 4 scenarios were, imagine a world the day we run out of chefs. And many of you are probably thinking, that day's already arrived. But imagine the point in the future where we simply run out of chefs, and the hospitality industry, because of cost, becomes unsustainable. Or imagine a world, the complete opposite. Imagine a world where we do get to that point of conversions, and we have robots that can actually produce food in a restaurant, or clean the hotel bedroom, or something like that. Or imagine a world where we are today, where we're constantly struggling for labor. We're always trying to find that room attendant, that food server, that chef, and it's that constant struggle. Or think of a world where technology is the experience itself, where technology changes things. Because, for example, if we look to the festivals industry and the music festivals, technology and holograms and all technology advancement is changed the experience economy. So think of that. So I'm going to give you several things to ponder. Question 1. Robbie the Robot is a point in the future where you have a robotic chef who gets a Michelin star. Imagine the first Robbie the Robot, who's not humanoid, but produces
gets that Michelin star, if you know what I mean, in the terms of what we do. To some people, that is fancy. But if you look at companies like Robotic Chef or Morley Kitchens, that's what they're doing. And if you go onto their website, search for the paintings that tell you how far they've got to and what they're doing. So it's imaginable in the terms of doing that. Because we're living in a world where automation is becoming a lot more prominent in the terms of what we're doing. We're already talking about jobs that will disappear. So we're putting more automation into what we're doing in a whole range of activities. And we're heading into an economic recession. And technology and productivity become a lot more important going forward. And if you're doing this type of thing, because I'm at the NHL, where am I? Where do I work? NHL Stenden, the Hotel Management School in Leeuwarden. And if we reach this concept in the future, it has major implications on hospitality and tourism education. So you've got to think about the future hotel manager or the future graduate is not a chef, but an educated software engineer. So the second concept, imagine Westworld. And if you're very old, think of Yul Brynner and the original series, if you can go farther back. So this is just a short clip that says it's about a robotic experience. What happened? On press. Oh, there we are. It's the days of the silent movie. Anyway, you've all seen the film or the TV series. But imagine that as a future world. Imagine that as the future where technology is at such a point, it's part of the experience economy. And that's what we're doing. So in Westworld, it's all about robots, intelligent machines. And every time you look at science fiction, they always have a proposition. They've always come from somewhere. So what am I thinking? Think about the jobs of the future from the hospitality and tourism perspective. Think about you need an AI ethics advisor. You need a human-machine engineer. You need an avatar relationships manager. You need an experience coordinator. You need a restaurant vertical farmer chef. You need a hotel robotic controller. And you need an augmented reality journal planner. So these are the jobs of the future. So what are the jobs of the future in the hospitality and tourism industry? Because I was in Croatia last week, and we were talking about the end of the revenue manager because AI at a hotel level is disappearing. It's all automated. This is the world of where we are today. We're living, if you're a proprietor running your own restaurant or a proprietor of a hotel, you're in a situation because business is booming with demand in hospitality and tourism, but you simply can't get the staff. So you don't open 7 days a week. You only open 4 days a week as a restaurant because you simply haven't got the chef or the room attendants. It's a constant struggle and it's very stressful. And that's not going to get any better. For example, in New Zealand, if you just take the demographics, there's no improvement in that cohort 15 to 34 because we're simply not having children. The growth in population in New Zealand, where we did this study, is all those over the age of 50, like me, 60. So the growth is coming from the aging population. So some of the things we have to get involved with are, you as an employer have to wear a different hat. You have to be a good employer in the terms of social enterprises. How do you attract and retrain staff? You need to be an advocate of local food and sustainability in the terms of what you do. So, if you want to attract Generation Z, it's all about engagement with their thinking and what they do. Final ones, I'm just going to tell you a story. This is about Milford Lodge down at it's just a story, a script. So just imagine this. Tell me, Catherine, what was tourism like in 2025? So imagine in the world 2050, you're reflecting back. Those were the days when we employed people, real people. Over the years, it was just become more difficult. We just couldn't attract right people to do the work in remote businesses. So in the end, we decided, to the hell with this. We needed to redesign the service delivery system. So we hired this guy from Amazon, who was a specialist in design and labor scheduling. Fundamentally, we had to become capital orientated rather than labor intensive. So what did this mean for your lodge? Just think about your stay. The hotel design is modular. Basically, it's about fixing things together. It's about ensuite toilets and bathrooms that are self-cleaning using nanotechnology. The bed is a futon and a duvet. Reception is staffed by Alison, the virtual assistant. And all food is prepared by a cool chick operator in Queenstown who flies all of the supplies in by cargo drone. So what's your opinion of the tourism industry today? Well, there are a number of operators in iconic locations of Milford Sound. Others and operators who fundamentally do the same. It's about investment in technology and minimalism. Basically, think of Citizen M hotels in the terms of that concept. So what does this all mean? Well, basically, we've got problems in New Zealand. 60% of graduates that study a chef's course basically within 5 years have gone. So basically, it's about using technology to redesign the service delivery system without affecting the customer. So what does this all mean together? Anyway, if you want to know more about how to do all of this, you can buy my book. I'll even sign it. So to finalize, so fundamentally, better technologies permit existing goods and services to produce it. One scenario is about better technologies permit existing goods and services to be produced at lower cost by redesigning the system. Second of all, it's about using technology, labor replacing applications of technology. So using technology to replace the human. Or it's about using technology, like in revenue management, to augment your job, to make it easier and more productive. And finally, using technology to create new experiences and services like Westworld. Anyway, if you want to know more, read the paper, the details there, or it's on the New Zealand MB website. Basically, thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Ian, for this thought-provoking presentation and insights. May I invite you to the panel? Yeah, there, over there. Yeah, I'll take this one.
Okay.
Now I think it's time to introduce you to our further panelists who want to continue the conversation and the discussion on how we can take the robot out of the human. And I would like to begin with Ron Sandel. Ron is a seasoned tech executive with over 20 years of experience in different marketing strategy, innovation positions, and he is leading the HotelTonight business at Airbnb. So Ron Sandel, welcome on stage. We have Professor Vanessa Borkmann. She's heading the Future Innovation Hotel Network at Fraunhofer Institute. You're working for years together with hotels, tech companies, different stakeholders to really innovate the industry through tech-driven service delivery models. Vanessa, please join us on stage. And then I'm very happy that we have someone on the panel who can ground us a bit, because we have, as you can see, a lot of academics who have crazy ideas and crazy visions about the future. So I thought we need to have someone who actually knows what is possible today and can ground us and tell us what really works in industry. So I'm very happy that Christian Mueller is with us. He's one of the co-founders of Onsai, and that is one of the startups coming from Germany, so we're actually proud German innovation here on stage. Christian, welcome. All right, what a panel. I'm so happy that you're all here. All right, let's start and reflect a bit on the scenarios that you just opened for the discussion. And I would like to start with you, Christian. Your Onsai AI is really a living example of what AI is already capable of. So you have a working demo in Hall 8, and you already replace human tasks in hospitality. So when you hear these scenarios and when you think about the future of human work in hospitality. What are your thoughts? What are your reflections, also based on what you do at Onsai?
Correction, little correction, hall 7, 8. What is the certain task? Replacing the human in hospitality isn't correct nowadays, as what we can do is not replacing completely the human in hospitality, because a human wants to interact with a human, as you already said, if you travel. What we can do right now is helping the humans to automate the recurring tasks. We can pick up the phone line and answer the FAQs. We can help you create a booking within your PMS system, within your spa system, or your restaurant. We can also automate certain tasks within the communication, as well as email, WhatsApp, iMessage, whatever channel you can choose. And I think that what's really important, we can create patterns and create certain tasks within different systems that not directly connected with each other. And all of that can overview what's happening. Like a Marriott player that guidance certain agents that perform small steps within certain systems, like the PMS systems, like your telephone system, like your messaging system, and always help to quickly interact with somebody that has a question and somebody that looks for a certain answer.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Quickly.
Yeah. a lot is possible in that sense. Ron, how are you reflecting on these scenarios? I mean, Airbnb, that is one of the lighthouse examples of how you use technology at scale. What is your vision? What are your thoughts from an Airbnb perspective on the future of human hospitality work?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that blew everybody's mind when ChatGPT came out is how human it seemed, right? You put a question, you get back something that feels actually like something we would say here, and it is based on immense scale. Okay, at Airbnb, we recently shared that we will be rolling out this summer customer support driven by AI, and so you could imagine feeding thousands of documents, and our world of customer support is incredibly complex. So feeding thousands of documents into machine learning, and in the output, you have AI agents that can then deduce what is needed in a certain situation, okay, and handling it in a very human way. And then also, if you think this is putting the human into the robot, then you flip it the other way and say, so how do you take the robot out of the human? Well, now when certain situations get escalated, they can get escalated in a way where the context is brought to the CS agent, where it is being routed to the right agent who knows how to deal with that very specific scenario. So when we have to deal with customer support at scale, you need both. Okay, I don't think you can pick one, pure technology, or only humans. And in fact, the only way to do it profitably and with a true human touch and connection, I think, is combining the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Also want to ask Vanessa, of course, you're working a lot with scenarios yourself, and you do that for quite a couple of years now. When you reflect on the scenarios of the future of work, and especially with an eye on where we can use technology to reduce the costs and to create future-proof service delivery models, what are your thoughts, also connecting maybe to some of your own insights or projects?
Yeah, first of all, I totally agree that it's not about substituting people and jobs as a whole, not for now. It's more about identifying the right tasks that can be automated and substituted as well. And when I see the title of our session, Let's Take the Robot Out of the Human, my understanding about it is that this is a great opportunity for hospitality and hotels. Because what we see in many situations in hotels today and in the past is that humans don't have the chance to offer that touchy service that we all expect and wish to have delivered. Because people are stressed, they have too much load, too much work to do, or suffer from digitalization that is not working well. That's the situation today. So in the future scenarios that are driven and supported by technology, I see a great potential and opportunity to redefine hotels, not in their meaning, because it's still about hospitality, but we can support the human service and the human touch, because all the repetitive work that can be automized will be done by robots, will be done by agents and artificial intelligence, but everything that needs to be connected from human to human can be conducted by a human. So that's the chance, and my thesis is that we can experience a completely new standard in hotels and bring not only hospitality back, also a more humane service, maybe let's call it humanity, in this business and in this industry. And I think that's the big opportunity. The second point that I want to make is that in these scenarios that are great, and that's the point, if you do future scenarios, you look at the extremes and you say, is it this future or is it that future, and what happens? But the reality, and that's also part of future scenario planning, is that there is not only black or white in our future. There are so many different color degrees, meaning that all these scenarios will be true in the future. We will have hotels driven by robotics, 100%, maybe no human on site anymore. We already have that, honestly. In limited service hotels, that's already reality. In full service hotels, it's still a bit tricky, but I guess that even in this category, we will experience fully automized places where probably nobody is working anymore, at least at certain hours, or maybe at a holiday. And there's a lot in between. And this is the future. We should be very, very aware that it's not only about adopting technology or declining it. There's so much in between, and we should really embrace technology.
Yeah, totally. Very, very perfect bridge. We haven't scripted that, but I wanted to continue the discussion on indeed that aspect, right? What is the difference, the dilemma between technology and human touch? And a recent experiment and study that we did at Hotelschool, The Hague, we exactly tested that, the hybrid setting where we have a tech touch point and a human touch point. And the guest could choose, right, to either go to the machine or to go to the robot. And what we find is that when people choose to go to the human, they have significantly higher expectations towards that touch point. So filling out a registration card or filling out your details will significantly lower the guest experience. Especially when there is this, this tech savviness on the guest side. So I wanted to ask Ron also, how do you deal with this dilemma between efficiency, human touch at Airbnb? What is your take on that? Because you're handling millions or billions of transactions per year, so you need to be at scale, but you're also having the human aspect truly in the core of your brand identity. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, I don't think anybody in this room thinks about their most precious travel experiences walking into a completely cold hotel and not talking to a single person and walking out and then going back home. That is not what travel is about. Travel is about ultimately connecting with other human beings, and especially learning cultures. And so at the heart of what Airbnb is, at the heart of our mission, it is about creating connection and belonging. So how can you do that? By leveraging technology at scale. Last year we had almost 500 million nights booked. You cannot create connection and belonging with 500 million nights booked without leveraging technology to do that. So the technology that we insert is thinking about it in ways that can create and facilitate human connection. So I'll give just one example. Messaging is a big part of Airbnb, to many hotels' demise, but really messaging is so important. And in our messaging app, anybody can speak to anybody else in any language and to create that connection. And we're doing translation in the middle. You can't do that without technology. And at the same time, now you're able to facilitate a connection between a host and a guest. So that's one example, but we really try to be thoughtful about how we're going to do this at scale. And really, as we look forward, and we do this not just in homes, but in hotels, these are kinds of tools that we want to put out there to empower our hosts and hotels on the platform to create that connection and belonging.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I wanted to go back to Vanessa, taking that point further, because you mentioned a lot about that you would automate also messaging, conversations, etc. And that's also what we see when we talk to and observe what's going on here at ITB. It's a lot about automating using AI for, say, the mental tasks, so to say, right? Where we can use that technology. Vanessa, do you have any insights or vision on how we can also automate more the physical task? Because we're talking about labor shortage in the industry. Maybe also from your other projects that you're connected to in other industries. Is there any scenario? Are there any thoughts on how we can really automate the industry, and not only the mental aspect, but also like the physical tasks, like housekeeping, like serving people? There's a lot of physical operations in the industry. What is your take on that when we talk about let's take the robot out of the human?
I think there's still a huge potential in this field. And I mean, if we look at robots today, they're still not super developed. I mean, now we had this hype about artificial intelligence, and we see a lot of tools now entering the industry and the businesses. So this is probably the mental task that will be substituted or supported in the first step. But I see that we call it physical AI, that in a next step we can use this artificial intelligence as a driver to make better use of robotics than we can do it today, because artificial intelligence is not the driver yet, or not that developed as it should be. So in the future, I think that especially the jobs with physical demand, you mentioned housekeeping, but also we saw in the presentation from Ian the topic of the chef of the future, which is also a physical demand besides of the creative process. I think that there will be a huge development and high potential. Yeah. Okay. Bringing robots and artificial intelligence together.
Combine it, yeah.
Also connecting it with IoT, with the Internet of Things, so that we can really connect this brain, which I see in artificial intelligence. It's the mental power that can be brought into the physical reality, and therefore be really, really helpful, especially in hospitality.
Yeah. Christian, how do you see that? Because you're, of course, working on a conversational, so more the mental aspect of automation and AI. And we know that your Onsai is, personalization at scale, so to say. Where do you see the limit? So in practice, in reality, like where do you see the boundaries of conversational AI, voice AI? Where do you need the human at this point in time? Or do you say, okay, we don't need the human at all, we already passed that stage?
No.
You're so outdated with your question.
No.
It can also be.
Yeah, we need the human. But what we see currently is that you can automate the conversation around 80% of all the conversations. It always depends on the questions or the certain patterns. There are much easier conversations for certain tasks. So if you're talking about small agents that only perform small things, like creating a booking within a restaurant, it's relatively easy, and you can automate around 90% of all the calls that happen in a restaurant, or also calls that happen in a spa. But there are more complex situations, especially within the hospitality, especially in the high automated hospitality sector, where you can't automate anything. Currently, there are borders like authentication of the human being, security risks, or the whole entrance situation that hold us back to automate it. And if we're coming with an interaction from us as a white worker replacement, when I can say it like that, as soon as you need somebody on site that do certain things, like in robot, there are the boundaries like nowadays. Especially that robots that we see out there in the industry only replacing the interaction between your employee and a robot, but not the interaction from a guest with a robot, because this interaction mostly failed. If you take a look at waiters, robot waiters, that's not sufficient yet.
Ian, what are your reflections on that when we talk about taking the robot out of the human, and you're listening to reflections of the three panelists? Do you have any additional thoughts where you say, okay, you see some boundaries of taking the robot out of the human? Or do you say, well, your research, your insights, your conversations, your scenarios, they will inevitably lead to a scenario where we don't need the human anymore because we can replace it?
Well, we'll always need the human, because at the end of the day, it's the human that take the decisions in the terms of what we've got. But all the way through the evolution of the hospitality industry over the last 100 years, we've put more technology, or we've improved productivity all the way through. And to a certain extent, on one extreme, the hotel industry has commodified. You know, the Citizen M, or the Travelodge, or the Ibis. They've taken labor out and put in technology. So you'll always see different degrees of the different scenarios occurring. But what you have to think about is you've just got to imagine the future. Because if you're getting the brightest people in the world to try and do this, eventually, in my heart, it will happen. And we're already seeing a lot of advancements in AI and technology and robotics, especially back of house. Yeah. And it's coming very house.
Yeah. And you mentioned also the parallels to other industries like retail, etc. So Vanessa, how do you see that also with an eye on the skill development and the educational needs, the profiles of the jobs that we need in the industry? Ian mentioned some of them, AI. What was the name? The AI concierge, or the support person for the robot. So we'll see an evolution of job profiles in the industry. What parallels maybe can you draw also from other industries? Retail I mentioned, where we have now self-checkouts and we don't go to the cashier anymore, but we have more technical support roles. What does it mean for like job profile, skills, upskilling, reskilling of the people that are driving our industry?
Maybe compared to other industries, we talk a lot about the human touch in hospitality. This is completely different in the automotive industry, in the production area. You don't have that. So I think this is special about hospitality, and this we need to keep that. That's an asset. So what people need to learn in this industry is how they can have technology as a companion on their side, how they can make use of it and interact with the technology intuitively, easily, that it's not a mental load and a demand, that it's just easily in use of the human to support the human work. And that's really different in this industry, but I think very essential and important. I really hope for the industry that we can all together, and that's also your task sitting here in the audience, that we can redefine this hospitality that we are all talking about. What is it in the future if robots and artificial intelligence can substitute all labor? And that's not a future far away. That's already here. So if we can do that, if there can be hotels without human labor inside, how do we want to redefine hospitality and the service that is presented in a hotel? Yeah. And this is the opportunity. That's a new age of hospitality. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And we are not talking about this. We are scared of robots. We are scared of technology and what happens to the human. We are the humans. We can define this future, and we should do it now. Yeah. And this is the future for the jobs as well. It's not about being the director of the robot. People will do that, but is this the job we want to do? We want to be hosts and create well-being environments, support the health of people, the communication, the social interaction, the connection to neighborhoods, the connection to local communities. Yeah. And this is the future of hospitality, in my opinion.
Great, yeah. Great statement. Ron, what are your thoughts on that? The future of skills, job profiles, anything to add to the play of?
Yeah, so I'll say, I think Airbnb's greatest innovation is building a system of trust. So how do you have 500 million check-ins in a year? Well, you have to be able to create trust between hosts and guests to show up at the front door, to have it opened, and to know that the person there that's coming to stay with you or the person who is welcoming you is trustworthy. And that's complicated. And so when we talk about, how can we create this, there are checks that we have all along the way when you create your profile through search and booking, checkout and check-in, everything. But on top of that, you made one good point, which is we could live in a world of completely driven by robotics, and that's absolutely true. On the other hand, without only people sitting behind and pulling the strings for the robots. But one interesting thing that we launched last October is a co-hosting network. Okay, so now we've all of a sudden created an entirely new job in the world of hospitality. Okay, and so there are 8 billion people in the world. We have 8 million listings. There are a lot of homes out there that can be listed on Airbnb, but people don't know how or they're afraid to. And so now we have what we call a co-host who can very easily work with somebody who is fearful of engaging with a system and now bringing them onto Airbnb and helping them host. Okay? So you have little micro entrepreneurs around the entire world. And so this is a new job. And we're putting technology behind them to facilitate it. So creating photo tours and giving them messaging tools. None of that could happen with technology, but at the end of the day, it's a human that's doing it, and it's a job that didn't exist before. So I don't think technology is choosing between robots and humans. It's actually the combination of and humanizing the experience.
Great point. Ian, you wanted to add something to that very quickly.
I just wanted to say the hospitality and tourism industry is not an industry of chefs and room attendants. Basically what I'm saying, it's fundamentally changed. So if you went to Airbnb or Booking.com or Expedia, some of the big companies, it's about engineers, scientists, linguists, branding and marketing people. The hospitality and tourism industry is an industry that's very rich in science and technology. So it's very diverse. So it's more than the chefs and the people on the front office, if you know what I mean. So we're already there with that type of thing. That was
great. I'm looking at the time, and there's so much more to discuss, but unfortunately our time is up. I would like to thank you a real lot for sharing your insights and your reflections on how we can take the robot out of the human. Please stay with us, give the panel a round of applause, and we will continue after a couple of minutes.